Today I'm bringing you a Mask of Bakris Hunter build on Prismatic, and this got a really cool new effect. Whenever you dodge, you now get a buff called Light Shift that will give a damage boost to Arc weapons, Stasis weapons, and Lord of Wolves. This is 10% per stack, and you get more stacks by dodging again. Now, how do you get your dodge back? While the effect is active, kills will recharge your dodge. It generally takes about 2 kills to get it back, but it depends on your class stat. So, you just dodge, shoot enemies, dodge, shoot enemies, and that's it. And you get more damage. And because of the Prismatic subclass, we're slowing enemies, we are creating specters to distract the enemies, and it just is very strong. I'm running through a Legend campaign mission here. I'm doing one of the old missions, so I don't spoil anything for the people who haven't got to play yet, but it is just destroying this. The enemies are very focused on the specters, and we can just float around. Because of Gambler's Dodge 2, we can also get our melee back constantly, so we're now severing enemies, we're just zipping around and shooting things. We're also taking advantage of the new weapon stats so that we have very good ammo generation. Don't run out of ammo pretty much at all here, even though I'm not even looking at bricks. See here, the boss still just attacking my specter. I'm even going to do a little reload here and then finish the boss off. If that sounds good to you, let's get into it on Engineer. Just for an overview of the build, the goal here is just chain dodges, blast enemies with strong weapon damage. Generally, it's very good for ad clear, and it is good for some boss encounters. I don't know if I would take it into a raid boss encounter because you can't keep that buff up very well when there's just a boss around. You need to kill enemies to keep stacking it, but very effective. I think it's going to be very good throughout the whole Legend campaign and a lot of other content like solo ops, pinnacle ops, and fire team ops, and things like that. I haven't been able to test it beyond the legendary campaign, but at that power delta, it felt very good. Very few deaths. Very resilient. On the pro side, it's a very straightforward build. It has great burst damage, very good at crowd control, debuffing, and aggro management, which is all really good because on the con side, you don't have a whole lot of healing built in, but all that other stuff really covers you pretty well. It is very ammo reliant, so you do need a decently high weapon stat. I recommend about 150 to make it work and flow without having to do too much work on top of it. First up, Mask of Bakris. This is a Beyond Light exotic. You can get it from any source, and you can actually just go grab it directly now because of how they changed how old exotics work. So as I mentioned earlier, when you have an Arc or Stasis super ability equipped, your class ability gets replaced with Shift. It can't replace Acrobat's Dodge though. Now, a cool thing about this is whether you're using Marksman Dodge or Gambler's Dodge, your cooldown is actually set to 29 seconds, the same as Marksman Dodge. The UI will not show you correctly. If you hover over your class stat, it'll still look at Gambler's Dodge and it won't be accurate, but I've tested it, I've timed it all out, that's what it does. The main effect is when you use your class ability, you'll shift up to 10 meters away and you get a stack of Light Shift for 11 seconds, and you can have 3 stacks of that. Now, while Light Shift is active, your normal regen does not work at all. But when you get kills while it is active, you get class ability energy back. Now, I did some testing, and at 100 class, you'll get about 70% of a charge back. At 70 stat, you'll get 53% of a charge back, and at 0 stat, you'll get about 24%. So try and hit 70 stat because then 2 kills gives your class ability back. I will say, if you do build for 100 class, you will have enough regen that you will get your dodge back about 5 seconds after the single kill you get. It's very quick because that 70% covers so much of it and your cooldown's so low at that point. So I generally recommend 70, but 100 is also a good option. Moving over to our aspects and abilities, the first aspect I recommend is Threaded Spectre. This creates a strand decoy and it's very good for managing aggro. Now normally this gives you a 60% class ability regen speed modifier, but because we're not really relying on our passive regen, this doesn't matter to us. So we really just don't take any of the penalty of this and we get all the benefits. And because we were getting our dodge back so frequently, we were able to just leave specters all over the field and it just really manages enemies. And they explode into threadlings that damage enemies and do a pretty good job. Now for the second aspect, I recommend Winter Shroud. This is actually thanks to one of the people in my Discord, Revadik, who recommended it to me, but it gives you damage reduction every time you dodge. It gives you another source of dodge regen, and it slows enemies around you. You can also consider Stylish Executioner if you just want a breath, because you will be debuffing enemies pretty constantly, and then just killing an enemy will make you invisible so you can reposition and move around. But both are solid. Winter Shroud just provides a lot of additional benefits. Now for your super, you have to take Silence and Squall, which is the Stasis super or Storm's Edge. But the grenade is pretty flexible. I'm leaning towards Magnetic Grenade for weekend. You may actually see in the gameplay, I think I was using Duskfield, but it's very flexible here. You're not really too focused on it. For the melee, I really like Threaded Spike for Sever and some really good Ad Clear, but Snare Bomb is also a really solid option to get weakened that way as well. For your class ability, I recommend Gambler's Dodge. You could go Marksman Dodge for the free reloads, but this is kind of a cool benefit because you don't have to take the penalty of Gambler's Dodge cooldown, but you do get the benefits, and you can spam your melee a lot with this, especially because Gambler's Dodge no longer needs to be near enemies to work, so that is very helpful. Moving on to Fragments, we have 5 Fragment slots here based on the aspects we've chosen. I like to always take Faceted Protection for damage resistance. Faceted Purpose will give you Frost Armor with a Stasis Super or Bolt Charge with an Arc Super. Facet of Dawn will give you Radiant, which is 20% weapon damage boost for 5 seconds whenever you hit with a powered melee, which we can do pretty constantly. Facet of Dominance is your way to get weakened if you're using that Void Grenade. If you're using Snare Bomb, I wouldn't recommend using this, maybe switch up. And then I'm using Faceted Command, which I thought was kind of a weird pick, but it actually turned out pretty well for just general ad clear. You very rarely have to reload because as you're dodging around, you will eventually freeze an enemy and you get a free reload. You also get some other benefits like airborne effectiveness, stability, and aim assist, and that can be helpful too. And the stasis shards are not bad and can synergize with some artifact perks. Now, some alternates to think about: Faceted Blessing will start your health regeneration when you get a melee final blow. As we were throwing our melee out a lot, this will happen pretty frequently. And then Faceted Hope will just give you one more source of class regen, but once again, we're not leaning on this too much, and Winter Shroud is already covering this. Over to mods and Armor 3.0 stats, yay! On the mods front, you really want to make as many orbs as possible just to keep your surges running and also for healing. So I'm using Reaper, Heavy-Handed, and a Siphon mod. Make sure you match your surges, Siphon, and Loader mods to weapons. This is a very weapon-focused build, so just make sure everything jives with that. I recommend Better Already on the legs because they absolutely killed recuperation and we really don't have the stats for health. So Better Already with Threaded Spectre will take the aggro off of you and give you a second to heal, because when you dodge, you have powerful attraction to pick up any nearby orbs. So that'll start the healing immediately, and they can just kind of float away from enemies while they're shooting at your Spectre. Over on the stats, I recommend about 150 weapon stat for the ammo bonus. This is purely for the chance for a larger brick, and this actually helps out a lot. After that, I definitely recommend you have 70 class, so you get 50% class charge on weapon kill, like we mentioned for Mask of Bakris. And then you want 70 melee stats, so your melee recharges fully when you do a Gambler's Dodge, just so you can spam it as constantly as possible. If you're a little bit short of this though, it will totally be fine. It's not a huge deal. After that, you can see the other stats are a little dire. Super, health, and grenade, just do what you can with them. Super's probably your biggest priority. Health, you're just not going to be able to invest enough into it to really make a huge difference. And then, I mean, grenade we're just using for weaken or just some random spot damage, so it's not a huge deal, but just try and get those to where you can. I will note too, this is my dim options right here. I do not have great armor. I haven't got a lot of armor 3.0 on this character yet, so still working on that and still working up through the tiers so I can get to like tier 2 armor, tier 3 armor, and hopefully this will get a little bit better. Over to artifact perks. First off, I don't have any of these artifact perks active yet because it's still very early in the episode and I don't like to bounty prep. So you don't need these, but I think these are the ones that will benefit this build mostly. Now, any solar ones here will only be working with Lord of Wolves, so keep that in mind. If you're not using that, skip these. So first up is Fever and Chill. So if you get multiple precision hits or 3 kills within 3 seconds of each, with a solar weapon you get Radiant, and with stasis weapons you get stacks of Frost Armor. A lot of numbers here, but just generally get a good bit of hits and you'll get there. Getting free Radiant is always helpful, though we still want to get it from our Fragments as well. Now also in column 3 we have Refresh Threads. So when you pick up a super matching elemental pickup, that will be either Ionic Traces or Stasis Shards in this case. You get ability energy to your least charged ability, which is really helpful. And works with Facet of Command, so that is really good synergy there. Cauterize Darkness will give you a 30% increased solar damage against Darkness debuff non-boss combatants, which is just a crazy damage boost. Now this is not against bosses, but for general ad clear and like champions and mini bosses, like go to town, take advantage of that because it's just crazy damage on a crazy weapon. Elemental Coalescence will give you super matching elemental pickups as you score kills. So that's once again just free Stasis Shards, which will go into Refresh Threads, which will keep your ability regen looping, and that's just great. Column 5, Radiant Shrapnel will let you generate Scorching Shrapnel when you shoot an enemy while radiant or upon killing Scorch combatants. And Lord of Wolves, our favorite weapon, happens to Scorch innately, so that is very cool and will just create a lot of AoE. Lastly, Elemental Overdrive. When you pick up an elemental pickup, it'll give you 10% increased damage for 7 seconds to pick up matching weapons. Now, if you're using Lord of Wolves, not as big of a benefit, but for stasis weapons, you can just go full stasis across here, and all those elemental perks will just keep your abilities looping, keep you getting shards, and give you extra damage. So that's really cool. Overall, really cool artifact perks for this build, but you still just don't necessarily need them. Moving over to weapons, our goal is to use an Arc or Stasis or Lord of Wolves weapon. So what I recommend for general use, it's Lord of Wolves. It's very good. As long as you own Forsaken, just go claim this from the kiosk and you are good to go. It's very strong. I don't even have the catalyst active yet, and it's still extremely strong. Just does crazy good damage, has pretty good ammo economy. And one thing to note too is that we have a new ammo generation stat on weapons, and most exotics have 100 of that, so that is very helpful to keeping your ammo flowing. Look at the ammo generation stat. You want a high ammo generation stat to keep special weapons looping without having to switch to other weapons. If you're not using this, Stasis or Arc rocket sidearms are very good. They have great damage, good ammo economy. They have to be a little bit careful, but our weapon stat will compensate for that somewhat. Also on Arc, you have Delicate Tomb or Cold Heart, very solid Arc weapons that saw a lot of play last episode, but they're still extremely strong, so take advantage of that. Now, when you get to boss or major damage, once again, it's Lord of Wolves. It's still busted, and it's so good for boss DPS too. But if you don't want to use this, we still have Stasis heavy weapons like VS Chill Inhibitor, the grenade launcher from Vesper's Host, or Cold Comfort from the recent Ride of the Nine event. For Arc heavies, we have Bittersweet back from episode Revenant, or Anarchy from the kiosk with some raid tokens. And these aren't your only options. There's plenty of Arc and Stasis heavy weapons out there, and there'll probably be more that show up as we get deeper into the episode, but that's generally what you're trying to do with the weapons. As you can see in the gameplay though, I pretty much just used Lord of Wolves, so maybe a little bit of a primary, and it is solid. Briefly, I want to talk about weapon damage stacking. There's a lot of buffs to work with. I haven't included any artifact boosts in here because some of them are situational. This is also kind of geared towards Lord of Wolves, so if you do something different, it'll be slightly less, but we have Radiant, we have Light Shift ×3, Weapon Surge ×2, 200 weapon stat, which gives up to 15% special weapon damage or 10% for heavy weapons. Do keep in mind, I'm not reaching 200 weapon stats, so this would be about half that if you're at 150. And then you can also get weaken either from your grenade or snare bomb. And all that comes out to plus 140% damage. That is 240% net damage with your weapon, which is absolutely crazy. So really good damage and really consistent. Some of these buffs are short like Radiant and Weaken, so just make sure you kind of stack those up well. Let's show off some gameplay. So this is a bit from my solo ops gameplay, and I have to say solo ops is really cool. I know a lot of people don't love the portal, but honestly I think it's one of the best things to happen in the game. If you just want to play Destiny, there's so many options for you and they're all great, no matter whether you want to be solo or in a team or whatever. So we are doing a mission called the Conflux. I honestly don't even know what this is from, but it's pretty solid. I'm shooting some enemies, doing some little mechanics, and it takes less than 5 minutes, and it's great. So we've been wiping out a few enemies, and we're coming up to a boss encounter here against a Minotaur. So you see we immediately dodge, and I'm actually using my primary weapon here because for one of the challenges I need to get precision kills, but you can see it also works pretty well. A headstone stasis weapon does pretty good ad clear, and the shatter from those crystals counts as weapon damage, so it will also keep your class ability recharging. You can see we just unload on this boss and their health gets popped down to 1/3 in no time. I'm not exactly sure what the power level delta is here, but it's pretty equivalent to legendary. It's the second tier of difficulty on the playlist, so pretty typical, but not too bad. Once again, Spectres are amazing for just drawing aggro. We're just kind of walking around shooting enemies while they are not shooting us, and that's great. Dodge and just line up those headshots. It's very easy when they're not looking at you. Just kind of whittling the enemies down. We've got to go find this bomb to drop the boss's shield, but not a huge deal. Finally got a precision hit, so no more primary weapon. Back to Lord of Wolves supremacy. We just throw this at the boss, and then we are going to throw our super out, Silence and Squall, throw our melee out for Radiant, dodge, and then just unload. And damage phase is already over. We just gotta find another bomb, and then we'll be all done. And there's a bomb there, so we can wrap it up. Just light shift, boss looks over there for a second, and then we just unload again. And that's pretty much it. That was a technically hard difficulty mission, which did not seem like it at all, and that's just really to the strength of the build. Just summarize the gameplay loop. You dodge, shoot enemies, dodge, throw your melee, and repeat. Now, to get peak damage, you want to ensure armor charges are active. You dodge, throw a weakening grenade, throw a melee for Radiant, and then unload damage as much as possible. And if you can, dodge again before that cooldown's down so that you can get the damage boost higher and just keep moving. Very solid build. it's been a lot of fun. I will be taking this through the rest of the campaign and it feels really good. But hope you enjoy it too, and hope you guys are enjoying Edge of Fate so far, because I am. There's so much cool to work with. I just also have to spend a lot of time testing stuff so I can figure out what the numbers do. With that, I just want to say thanks to all my supporters, but especially my channel members, Michael Patton, Wolf Game 07, Velvet Hammer, all three of which are brand new channel members. And then I also have Louis, Iquitos, Mirage, Sushi Juice, Matty the Ace, Davey0011, Infernal Park 111, and Radriel. These channel members help support me on my YouTube channel, and they usually get YouTube videos a little bit earlier than others, which I really appreciate. And they also get a little bit more access to asking for builds and stuff, because if you're supporting me, I would definitely like to help you out. But in general, I really appreciate all the support on the channel. I am getting very close to 5,000 subscribers, and that is very exciting. And it's been really cool to see the growth. I think there's still so much fun things to do in Destiny. There's so many great builds, and a lot of them are going to be refreshed. Hopefully all the kind of bugs and stuff settle on Edge of Fate soon, and we can just enjoy all the new content. With that, I'll let you go. Thanks, and have a good one.